5:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I would entertain approval of the agenda. Which one? Oh, I thought she read Ms. Hines. Ms. Hines, I saw her first.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second? Mr. Lovelace seconds. All those approved? And seeing none, then we will get right to business. And we did put public participation first, but I have a couple of things I'd like to, two housekeeping things. Ms. Huddle is on the way. She's stuck in traffic. We have a really bad storm out there, so we do have a quorum, so we're going on with the meeting. But she is on the way, and Mr. White was not able to attend with the short notice, but I have a statement to read from him later in the meeting, and I appreciate hearing from him. I really would like to just say before we start the meeting with our one agenda item, the purpose of this meeting is to allow adequate time for the board to review the current policy passed by the former board, policy ADD, face covering, with the opportunity to revise or repeal this policy only after hearing from the public. Many people are wondering why a special call meeting was necessary. Here's the reality. Had we waited until May 10th for this discussion, the mask covering would have dominated the meeting and other important D5 business could have suffered. The adequate time for public participation, along with the discussion by the board, would lead to a very late night. That is very unfair to both the public and the D5 staff on a subject so controversial. Given the small number of days left in the school year, graduation approaching, and the governor's press conference last week, a special called meeting appeared to be the best option, and holding it here was the least amount of setup work for our D5 staff that worked so hard. The governor's words, whether intentional or not, have placed all school boards across our state in what I would call a hot seat. We as a board realize how difficult this issue is, but we as elected officials must do what is best for the majority of our students in D5. Where policy is concerned, this board must lead, just as our governor must lead. Dr. Melton has taught us to be intentional, and I have some intentional things to mention. My intent tonight is for everyone to be heard and for all participants, both school board members and the audience, to be respectful and above all, tolerant of different opinions. We should be role models to our students and to our children. Dr. Melton, I would like to thank you and your staff for your time and effort that's been put into this issue by clarifying current policy and working alongside our board to provide information as needed. Your professionalism and your knowledge is so appreciated. With that, I am ready to get to our public participation, which we put first, so that we felt we would hear from them before we made our discussion and made any decisions. So, with that being said, where's my list of people? And we have them numbered. Number 1 is Jessica Bauer. Ms. Bauer, if you don't mind, I did tell my intents about being polite and courteous and respectful. I'm going to read our policy too, which you've probably heard it a million times, but forgive me. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures and the decorum provided in board policy BEDH, public participation of meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Questions asked during public participation will be handled in accordance with board policy BEDH. And we know what the subject is tonight, so it's good. Thank you.
Hi, I've taught 7th grade at Tiffin Middle School for 13 years and just had a few thoughts that I wanted to share. First, I know you've discussed leaving math schools as the teachers. At Tiffin Middle, students attend 6 different classes every day. Teachers often know health information about their students, and in some cases, that means knowing about an underlying condition that would make a student high risk, necessitating strict mask requirements. In another class with other students, there might be a different rule, possibly resulting in a call or email from a parent asking us to justify a strict policy in our room, something that we couldn't do without revealing private health information. That's a terrible position to put teachers in. Second, this time of year is full of important things, from SC Ready to AP tests to end-of-year celebrations and graduations. Right now, with our mask policy, we have a very low number of cases. Why change something that's working and risk a possible increase in cases, leading to students missing these important events and experiences? Finally, families chose to be in school with the policy in place. Changing the policy without an opportunity to switch to 5 would be unjust, and even if students could, with just a few weeks left in school, a switch would pose unnecessary challenges to that student, their teachers, and school testing coordinators who are now preparing materials for SC Ready. At 12 and 13, my students are not yet eligible to be vaccinated. They can, however, contract COVID-19. According to the Assistant State Epidemiologist, the case number in children is currently rising. Current CDC and DHEC guidelines recommend universal masking policies in schools. I spoke with the Chief of Pediatric Critical Care at MUSC, who also strongly recommended keeping the policy in place through the end of this school year, and explained that while they've had no patients present with complications from wearing masks, they have had patients in intensive care due to COVID and related complications. A clarification allowing kids to remove masks when outdoors at recess is one thing, but abandoning a policy that has kept us in school in person this year more than so many other districts is entirely another. We need a policy that will keep students in our classrooms and at their graduations, rather than a policy that risks sending them home or sick on quarantine. I know some feel a mask is a personal choice. 7th grade ELA classes at Chapin Middle have 25 to 27 students. If COVID is airborne, then that means you're making a choice not just for that child not to wear a mask, but you're making a choice for 24 to 26 other families. May is National Foster Care Month, and our foster care system is a reminder of the brokenness that exists in our world, but it's also a reminder of our responsibility to care for and love other people, even if it comes at a cost to ourselves. It reminds us of the joy that can be found when we choose to love, even when it's hard or uncomfortable. When you ran for school board, you chose to enter public education and in your own way became an educator. Today, you have the opportunity to model what it is to listen to credible sources and to value being a member of a community over individual wants. You have the opportunity to make a decision that will help keep all our families safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Reverend Stephen Evans.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Melton, thank you for your commitment to serving the students, parents, teachers, staff, and administrators of Lexridge 5. As a resident of Richland County, a parent of 3 Lexridge 5 students, pastor of St. Paul AME Church here in Irmo, I truly desire to believe that those who have been elected to serve will serve in good faith and in the interest of those in the whole community. There's a very volatile undercurrent in both the national scene and our local communities that is pulling neighbors into deep waters of them against us and me against you. That fear poisons any progress towards a beloved community. That train of thought builds walls instead of bridges. Leadership is called to make tough decisions, directed by moral integrity and not political agendas. Understand that I am not making any assumptions regarding your decision-making process. I'm only expressing that my expectations are regarding an elected official deemed to represent the entire demographic. Thus, I'm asking as a parent and as a pastor in our community to not politicize the health and safety of our children and the adults that we have entrusted to care for them while at our stellar academic institutions. There is still a debate regarding masks and vaccinations. Until there is a greater consensus to embrace some form of universal precautions, our families are still in danger. The current debate in our school district is not one focused on outside activities, but one specifically on in-class safety protocols. Preference and comfort should never supersede health and safety. It may be someone's preference to speed at 100 miles per hour in a 70 mile per hour zone. They may feel extremely comfortable speeding, but those actions put other motorists in danger. It is frustrating to follow the guidelines that provide safety for yourself and others, only to find a traffic jam because someone decided to speed or text. All on the highway suffer because of one person's preference or desire. So even with myself, speaking of underlying conditions, I would love for my daughters to be able to be here in class and in person, but it puts all my family in danger because of those underlying conditions. And not only my daughters, but even myself, bringing those things back because I just received a heart from a heart transplant. So I'm asking that we make just the simple idea, the simple thought of just waiting and doing what health officials and scientists are saying. Wait until the end of spring, the beginning of the summer to truly see if vaccination is available for our young people and leave things the way that they are right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Albert Jones?
A little tall. Good afternoon, board members. The only action agenda item is the revisions or deletion of board policy ADD face covering. It is our opinion that this is not an emergency sufficient for a special called meeting. There is already a meeting scheduled for May 10th. Preparation for this board meeting distracted from the real work our district leadership must do. Additionally, this meeting leaves many educators unable to attend or have their voices heard because of their commitment to our students. This is a high-stakes meeting for many different groups, and the results of today's meeting will profoundly impact teacher retention. The decision you make today will communicate what this school board believes about the safety and physical well-being of all students and staff. Teacher retention may even be affected before this school year is complete. According to the South Carolina School Boards Association, each of you pledged to represent the interests of the entire district when making decisions and to rely on available facts and on our judgment rather than individuals or special interest groups. As of May 1st at 11:59 p.m., Richland and Lexington counties have had 79,247 positive COVID-19 cases and 1,026 COVID-19 related deaths. Within the past 2 weeks, there have been 827 cases in Richland and Lexington counties. Are you all comfortable with one person dying under your leadership? We hope this meeting is to maintain all Center for Disease Control and Prevention guidance. There is clear guidance for masks to help slow the spread of COVID-19 from the CDC. The guidance from April 19, 2021 clearly states, when you wear a mask, you protect others as well as yourself. Masks work best when everyone wears one. And people age 2 and older should wear masks in public settings and when around people who don't live in their household. I leave you with these questions. 1, have you all sought out and spoken with any constituents that are Black, Indigenous, or other people of color? 2, if a change other than maintaining CDC guidance is made today, what data is being used to make this decision?
Thank you. Next is Cindy Reeves.
Dr. Melton, D5 board members. My name is Cindy Reeves, and I am the music teacher at Leap Hart Elementary School, Magnet. I thank you for being so proactive by providing vaccination clinics for D5 teachers and staff. I wish that I could have taken advantage of the clinic. Unfortunately, I have been in active breast cancer treatment since June 15th, 2020, and I will not finish my treatment until June 23rd, 2021. I continue to be immune compromised. I took short-term disability through December while I went through the harshest chemo and 2 surgeries. I returned to the classroom on January 4th, and it only took me until February 2nd to contract COVID from school, the only change in my routine through the entire pandemic, and bring it home to my family. In an attempt to keep me from being hospitalized, my medical team sent me for monoclonal antibody treatment. Unfortunately, I had a severe reaction because of my active cancer treatments. I am still continuing treatment, so I have been directed not to get the COVID vaccine until 2 months after I finish my treatment near the end of June. I am distressed that we are holding an emergency board meeting to discuss Governor McMaster's erroneous assertion that masks are no longer necessary to safely hold classes face-to-face. As I already stated, I would welcome the chance to be vaccinated, but it is not a possibility until the chemo drugs are out of my system. In fact, anyone who has had the monoclonal antibody treatment cannot be vaccinated for 90 days after their treatment. I wonder how many of our staff members fall into that category, and I also wonder how many other staff members have medical issues that prevent the prompt administration of the COVID vaccine. While most of our district teachers and staff probably have been safely vaccinated, I remain one who cannot be. I'm sure I'm not alone. Governor McMaster's assumption that children do not spread COVID is simply wrong. I contracted COVID from children who tested positive shortly after they were in my classroom. While cases have decreased, there is no vaccine yet for students under 16. So DHEC and the CDC still recommend safety measures such as masks and social distancing to control the spread. The State Department of Education's mask policy also relies on DHEC and the CDC and still supports wearing masks. As elected officials, this board has the responsibility to represent the entire school district, not just the loudest constituents. Shouldn't we distribute a district survey to determine if a majority of stakeholders wants to remove the State Department of Education mandated mask policy before we make such a big decision that could possibly have legal ramifications? Please use the guidance of the CDC and DHEC, which are based in scientific evidence rather than the opinions of people who are not immunologists or medical professionals. Please do not remove the mask ordinance this year. We only have 32 days left. Allow me the ability to continue teaching without having to risk my health to do so. Requiring mask wearing allows me to do that with more reliability than without masks. I shouldn't have to worry about getting COVID again when there is an adequate safety measure already in use. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nicole Watford.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Watford, and I come here tonight as a community member, a former D5 teacher, and a future D5 parent. My request is simple. I implore you to keep the existing mask policy in place for the remainder of the school year in accordance with guidelines from the CDC, South Carolina DHEC, epidemiologists, and public health experts. I understand that masks have become an emotionally charged and even a controversial issue, and those on both sides feel strongly about their beliefs. I know that deep down, we can agree that we all want what is best for our children. We want to keep them from harm. We want them to thrive. We want them to be able to experience a sense of normalcy again after what has been a very long and challenging year. However, what we are living through right now is a public health crisis, and the most important thing for us to do is to continue to exercise every precaution we can to stop COVID-19 from continuing to spread. I am neither a public health expert nor an epidemiologist, but I have been listening to many who are since March of last year. I trust their knowledge and expertise. Wearing masks is not just about one's personal risk, it is about community health. The message I have received over and over from the experts is that we have to continue to slow and stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus through mask wearing, hand washing, physical distancing, and vaccination when we are eligible. Regardless of one's personal risk for severe COVID-19 outcomes, the fact of the matter is that every time someone is infected with the virus, child or adult, low risk or high risk, it has another opportunity to spread. With every opportunity the virus has to spread, and the longer it continues to circulate, it also has the opportunity to mutate into a more severe variant that could quickly overwhelm the progress we have made. All of that being said, one thing is abundantly clear. Masks are shown to be one of the best and simplest ways that we have to help contain the spread in our community. Wearing them is an act of care for our community. Finally, as a parent, let me say this. Our children, however old they are, look to us for guidance when things feel uncertain. They look to us and leaders in our community to show them how they should respond. So to our D5 board members, to my fellow parents and community members, let us lead them in such a way that demonstrates our dedication to caring for our community. I implore you to look at the big picture and do what is best in the long run by public health standards, rather than what satisfies the desires of one group in the short term. Please keep the existing mask policy in place for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd cut that off. Angela Gant.
Good evening. I am here on behalf of my niece, who is a STEM student at Dutch Fork High School. I have something to read on her behalf. For those of you who know how terrifying an anxiety or panic attack can be, you would understand why wearing a mask makes it so much worse. As someone who does have anxiety attacks, it is a scary experience being in a school with strangers and being on the brink of passing out or throwing up from lack of air. My mask restricts my breathing when I'm internally panicking. As a teenager with social anxiety and not knowing how to manage it, not being able to breathe, and not being allowed to take the thing restraining my breathing off my face, it makes an already scary situation worse. I can't count how many times this school year I've had to ask to go to the bathroom just to catch my breath after a test. I know I'm not the only one that struggles with this. 31.9% of teenagers in the U.S. suffer from an anxiety disorder. So imagine how many students in District 5 alone are suffering just as such. Many of our developing brains rely heavily on facial expressions and mouth movements to learn. I cannot see my teachers talking. Their voices are extremely muffled, even with a speaking aid in their masks. Our learning is impaired because they are required to teach with something covering their mouth. I can't communicate with my classmates because I can't see their mouths, nor can they see me. A constant exchange of what, I can't hear you, but getting called out when you pull your mask down to help someone with their homework or catch them up on notes. Social interaction between developing teenagers and young children are crucial for development and learning. As a sixth grader at Crossroad Middle School, we had a standard called the 3 C's. 2 of these, if I remember correctly, are communication and collaboration. Do you see the contradiction here? Communication and collaboration are greatly neutralized when wearing a mask. Wearing a mask feels like a muzzle. Making friends and interacting has become a chore. Teachers want us to ask our neighbors for help when we can't hear them. At the start of the school year, teachers would raise their voices at us because we were too scared to talk to them and to each other. School did not feel like a safe environment and still is physically and mentally draining, all because of a face covering. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alan Wright. Oh, did I have that wrong?
No, it is Alan Wright. I will start by reviewing a few board policies and operational goals. First, the board is committed to constant awareness of the concerns and desires of the community regarding the quality and performance of the school system, with the board assuming an education leadership role. Number 2, also to the continued improvement of the district schools for the benefit of its students. Number 3, additional board goals, to evaluate the data appropriate for the functions of planning, evaluating, organizing, and implementing the goals and objectives of the district. Regarding the above, number 1, if you, the board, and superintendent are aware of the concern of the parents who demand their child have choice when it comes to masks, then why are you not leading? You haven't led us anywhere, but you have divided us. Number 2, we should always strive to improve our schools for the benefit of our children. I would assume this means their well-being. Mandatory masks in school is a major threat to a child's development. It ignores the essential needs of a growing child. The well-being of children and young people is highly dependent on the emotional connection with others. Masks create a threatening and unsafe environment where emotional connection becomes difficult. You have more concerns of funding than what you're actually doing to our children, which is causing mental and emotional distress. Number 3, to the additional goal, you are not evaluating the appropriate data. All parties mandating the use of face masks are not only willfully ignoring established science, but are engaging in what amounts to a whole school clinical experimental trial. This conclusion is reached by the fact that face mask use and COVID-19 incidents are being reported in scientific opinion pieces promoted by the CDC and others. The fact is, after reviewing all studies worldwide, the CDC found no reduction in viral transmission with the use of face masks. Secondly, I would like to read a part of your oath. I do solemnly swear to protect and defend the Constitution of this state and the United States, so help me God. Mac Prince versus United States, 1997, Justice Scalia wrote, "The Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. Any code of government to pass for our safety cannot be upheld or enforced since it's outside the rule of law and governmental authority. Therefore, if you continue to require a mask, you are in strict violation under Title 18 U.S.C. Section 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. It is a crime for a person acting under color of any law to knowingly and willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution of the United States." I'm almost done. In McMaster's most recent amended executive order, he doesn't mandate face coverings. Additionally, no person acting in a public position can require or enforce mask mandates or any other tyrannical act. You and many others are in clear violation of Title 18 U.S.C. 242, U.S.C. Section 241, conspiracy against rights. Let this serve as notice that not only are you in violation of the United States Constitution, but also the oath that you took to serve on this board. If you choose not to eliminate the mask mandate in D5, then you are not upholding your duty to the children of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Brittany Nelson.
Mine's nothing like hers. I'm not very good at speaking in front of people, so please excuse me if I'm a little awkward. My daughter, she's been healthy all her life. She's never been to the doctor for being sick. She's just never been on antibiotics. She's happy. She loves school. She's been coming home when I pick her up with headaches. She's been complaining about them very often, which, concerns me because that's never been an issue. My friend's daughter had to get pulled from school. She wanted her daughter to be in school, and her daughter wanted to be in school. Her headaches were so severe that she had to pull her out and homeschool her. Even took her to the doctor. The doctor also said that there could be nothing possible causing these headaches other than the mask. So she can't go back to school even though she wants to because her headaches are so severe. I have a friend who's a teacher. She's a high school teacher, and she's afraid to speak up because, I don't know, she thinks her job might be threatened. Her little 6-year-old daughter has this permanent rash on her face, 6 years old, permanent rash, from wearing a mask. And it's actually a thing. I don't know if you've heard. It's called maskne. 6 years old. If it's doing that to their skin, what could it be doing to their lungs or on the inside? We don't know. That's what makes us nervous and scared to put these masks on our kids for so long every day. My daughter loved school. She's smart. She's going to be starting AGP next year. I remember she cried one Friday night because she didn't have school the next day on Saturday. And she's been like that. She's in the 2nd grade now. She's always been that way. This year, it's completely different. She doesn't want to go. They've taken all the fun out of it. They don't let them go on the playgrounds anymore, as if the coronavirus exists on the playground equipment outside in the sun and not on anything else that they're touching all day. They've been sticking them on the Chromebooks with a screen in front of their face. What happened to Heads Up 7-Up? I don't know if you guys remembered stuff like that when we were kids and when it was raining and we couldn't play outside. But that's, back to the mask subject. My son starts this fall. He's 5 years old. I want to be able to walk him in. I want him to be able to make friends on the playground. I want him to be able to see his classmates' faces, their smiles. And I certainly don't want to worry about him coming home with headaches, too. He's 5. I mean, there's a reason for these headaches. So, masks should be optional, not mandatory. I feel that wearing them all the time is just as dangerous as others feel that not wearing them is. So why can't we have the choice? No one should be forced to wear something that they feel is detrimental to their health in many ways. This is supposed to be a free country, and that doesn't feel very free to me. Wear a mask if you want, have your kids wear one, but let others decide for themselves about the well-being of them and their children. Mask by choice, not by force.
Thank you. They're not in here, so Daniel Burke. Let me welcome Ms. Huddle, who was stuck in traffic. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
Dan.
I didn't even know I was speaking, so I don't have anything prepared as well as everyone before me. I'm just coming here as a concerned parent. Try to voice my opinion on several of the groups I've got involved into on social media, online. Every time it seems that I try to get the opposite side out, it's silence. Whether it's, rude parents coming after me, school board, whoever, it's just always silent. So I figured this might just be one opportunity to get out what, I've been trying to get out there this whole time. I'm basically coming as a survivor of what happens of trauma on the inside. I'm a survivor of PTSD and a lot of childhood abuse and trauma, and what you're doing to the kids is exactly that. Maybe not to the extreme or, to the normal person that had a spoon-fed life, but as someone that's been raped, someone that's been abused, someone that's been left, it's somewhere like that, that constricting feeling around your face, even me, I can't even go to the grocery store because I have such bad anxiety that I start sweating and leaving there. So I can't even imagine what a scared little child has to do. And this is public school. It's not like we have a choice. If I had the money to go to private school, I would send my daughter there. If I wanted her stuck inside of a dang electronic screen the whole time, because to begin with, my daughter was on sorry, I get heated up, but my daughter was on the digital thing. And then I saw what that was. That's not education. She wasn't talking with anyone. She was silenced the whole time. Behind it, just how she is now, silenced at school. When I went to school, I didn't have a good childhood. So my teachers, I could name all my teachers because I looked up to them. I looked up to their smiles, their hugs, their moments, how proud they were of me. Y'all were taking that away from them. I mean, I don't know specifically, I guess there's one person that's resigning, but you're taking that away from them. And like I said to start with, I'm a survivor of PTSD, so not all the trauma is on the outside. You might see some scars on me, but most of my scars are on the inside. I'm a disabled veteran, and a lot of that scarring that you're creating right now is going to be detrimental to them later on in life. You might not see what you're doing. You might not see the blood dripping from them. But guess what? They're bleeding in their mind, and they're bleeding with their feelings and their thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I gotta say.
Laura LaSalle. Am I saying that right?
Hey, we meet again after a week. Hey, y'all. All right.
Hello, how are you?
Well, besides all the trees down in Chapin, looks like a tornado went through, seriously. There's oak trees everywhere. Oak trees everywhere. So that's why a lot of people were probably late tonight. Anywho, all right, so down to business. Okay, we all know McMaster's did his famous speech, the height of ridiculosity. Everybody remembers that. It's time, y'all. It's time. Y'all need to take a vote tonight in this nonsense that Spearman and everybody else has going because you're afraid of something. Your lawsuits have been relieved because if somebody gets COVID, although nobody really is getting the flu anymore. I brought the mask last week. I showed you. It's on every box. States that it does not protect or prevent from the spread of this. Florida's fully open. Counts are going down. Their schools, they're just eliminated all their mandates. Their public schools. All of them are gone. And we're sitting here dickering about keeping babies in face coverings. I said it last time, saying it this time. It is child abuse. It is abuse. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. These children are scared. One child came up and said she's scared of the air. Scared of the air to breathe. If she takes the mask off for her mommy, I'm scared of the air. One child is soft-spoken in class, and her teacher has to hand her a microphone to speak through her mask to be heard. Ridiculous. I have not worn a mask since the very beginning of all this. I go everywhere. I travel. I hug. Believe it or not, I am friendly. But besides that, I'm not dead. A true pandemic, people are dead in the streets. Our homeless are not dead in the streets. We are not scooping them up. This has become political. It's involving money, and we know it. A lot more groups have formed. A lot more billboards are going up, and it's going to continue. We're not ending. We're not stopping. We're going to get louder. We're getting bigger, and we're saying, y'all take a vote. This is an emergency meeting. It needs to end tonight. The overreach is done. Y'all, the government overreach is done. Y'all need to override her and end this. You have the power to do it. We can stop these masks by tomorrow. It's 90 degrees outside, and we got these babies who cannot breathe. It's not fair, and each and every one of you know that. Please end this. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
I will take up for this board, no one is in any way guilty of child abuse.
Actually, you are. Oh, yes, you are.
Okay, thank you.
Child abuse, most
Thank you.
definitely.
Your time is up. Thank you.
So is yours, so get done.
Todd, is this Grosh? Am I saying it right?
Go get them.
Or Grosh? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello. I'm not used to public speaking, but I do have a couple words, especially when it affects my children. I challenge all of you to go ahead and prove that these masks do anything. I want to see peer review evidence that these masks stop a virus. And I have a question for you. What happened to the flu? When all of you look at the flu numbers, where did it go? The reason I'm asking that is because some of the medical professionals are saying the mask stopped the flu. If the mask stopped the flu, why haven't we been wearing masks for the past 30 years during the flu? 40 to 60,000 people die a year from the flu, many of which are children. Which brings me back to COVID, the China virus. How many children actually have died from the China virus? They're the ones that actually do best against the China virus. They're not dying. Like the other lady said, do you see people dying all in the streets? The nonsense has to stop. Peer-reviewed articles of if the masks work. That's what we need to see. Peer-reviewed articles of social distancing. Does it work? No, it doesn't. A virus isn't going to stop at 3 feet or 6 feet. Come on now. Where is the evidence? Everybody cites the CDC. Where is the CDC's evidence? It's nowhere. It's nowhere. My question is, everybody in here is worried about a lawsuit from a kid getting COVID because you're in a school or a teacher getting COVID. Well, what are you going to do when the lawsuits start coming from kids getting bacterial infections from masks? You're breathing that mask. You're breathing your exhaust back in. That mask is getting moist. It's growing bacteria. 30 minutes, it's growing bacteria. You're breathing that in. What are you going to do when lawsuits start dropping because kids are getting sick from wearing masks? That's going to happen. And everybody needs to understand that. Vitamin D and zinc. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I refuse to wear a mask. I'm at one of the highest levels that they claim are going to die from this virus. Vitamin D and zinc. I'm alive. I was just at a rally with over 1,000 people last Sunday with Linwood and General Flint. 1,000 people. There's nothing wrong with me. I was at a rally before that. There's still nothing wrong with me. These children deserve freedom. Does anybody talk about the kids who, like the other gentleman said, are being, scarred mentally from this? You have kids that are doing drugs because they're stuck at home. You got kids committing suicide. All this stuff's happened. Where's those statistics? If everybody's so worried about the kids, why aren't they paying attention to everything else that's going on? All those other numbers are going up, but nobody seems to care. Everybody's worrying about dog muzzles. It needs to stop. Take the masks off. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public participation.